Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is the weekly video games podcast. We give our impressions of the games that you can play today, and we react to the latest news from the wonderful world of video games. We're here every Monday on your favourite podcast app and YouTube, absolutely free. This week, I'm joined once again by the three-time Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz champion. It's Tom Adkins, not Adcock. How's it going?
I'm bloody good.
Good.
It's that time that...
Get that fucking...
Oh, the fizzaroonie.
Got half that on my keyboard there.
Oh. Citrusy. Bisto.
Ah.
Not even.
Another week, another podcast.
Another podcast called Yellow Piss.
Yes. One thing off the bat, actually, we won't be here next week.
Oh, yeah, day off.
So, next week, Easter, innit? So, that is a day off for us. If you listen on the audio feed only, you will get something. You'll get a historic and old episode from way, way back. So that might be interesting, but there'll be nothing on Twitch if you're watching us live as we stream this and record it, and there'll be nothing on the YouTube channel. But if you're an audio hardcore fan, you'll get something that'll sound probably quite a lot different because it'll be recorded maybe over 5 years ago. So that's what's happening for next week. Get it out there early, otherwise people drop off.
Stick the fucking Witcher review out there, get some bump up the number.
Well, that does help sometimes when you chuck out something. I think the highest is that the highest rated one. I think that's the highest.
Fallout.
Yeah, one of those. Dishonored's high as well in terms of videos, but yeah, we'll be having a weekend off and then we'll be back the following week. So any UK bank holiday. So that intro is a bit of a lie because we're not here every Monday because there's several Mondays where we won't be here, and next week is one of them. If you don't get the day off in wherever you live in your country, then that's a shame because we get Friday and Monday off. Hey, well, I don't know about you because you're self-employed, so I don't know what you lot do.
I
charge triple and say you ain't getting the work done unless you fucking pay me triple on Easter.
That's true. I do take the bank holidays. It's something I've always any excuse I don't have to work, I will take it.
Yeah.
Religious days off, you know.
And you're a religious man, so...
I am. So, here is my God.
Yep. It's a bit of... What's that double pump?
Gone off beer.
Gone off Brewdogs. A couple of weeks old, that one.
It was. It's alright. It's a bit citrusy, isn't it? It's like piss. Middle cut glass.
Not sure I trust it. Patreon.com/Idle Game Chat is the place to go if you want to support us. Now that you know we don't do it every Monday, you might choose not to. So I may have blown that. Should have kept that to ourselves, really, in hindsight.
Should have already saying it ain't worth the money.
Well, look, honesty is always the best policy. I don't want to be caught out. Okay? So don't need to be known about that. This week we've got some fresh impressions. We've been let down by Royal Mail, postal services, physical releases a few times in the last since probably I'm going to put it down to when we first got that Xbox Series X when my Series X didn't arrive on day one. You've then had a few stinkers in terms of game deliveries not showing up. Most recent one was Mario 3D World coming almost a week later, and there were worries about this week because the big release that you'd gone for was Monster Hunter Rise, and we claimed to have fresh impressions, but did the fucker arrive this time?
The fucker! I was just looking to see when the last game I remember receiving on day one was Ghost of Tsushima, and I didn't realise that was July last year. Fucking hell! I thought that was later than July. So
Summer game.
I haven't received a game on day one since July last year. Royal Mail blowers.
Well, how
But
many games is that though? Because it might only be 2.
what else was there? There was um, Creed. Actually, no, that did come. Actually, no, Creed did come. Oh, I've blown it already. Creed came day one, but that's what. But Spider-Man was late. Spider-Man for the PS5. Because that was supposed to come the Tuesday, wasn't it? Because we got the games before the console.
Yes, yes.
So that was late. That came about the Wednesday or Thursday.
Because you could have popped that in your PS4, couldn't you? Or not?
No, I bought the PS5 version.
So if you'd bought the PS4 version,
I think you get it for free anyway.
you'd better pop it in the disc and play a week on PS4, then
Oh yeah, I could have done, couldn't I? Fucking hell, blower.
shortchanged yourself, perhaps.
Shortchanged myself. I got the crisp PS5 case.
True, it's got the white top in it,
top.
just to usher in the new generation. So that came...
That was late.
Yep.
Then, what else was bought? Cyberpunk, that was late.
Oh, yes.
What was the third one? I was gonna hold on. I've got my little fucking list here, and I've got lists for everything. Let me just see.
So we had Mario recently. I don't know if that's the third one you're thinking of, or was it another?
Was it another one? Was there 4? 3. No, yeah, maybe it was that then.
Anyway, ain't been reliable, is it?
No, so yeah, since Creed then.
Yeah.
So November,
And
I received.
The thing is, with you, and correct me if I'm wrong, obviously online ordering has been the only way pretty much for most of 2020 because of pandemics and games been closed, and you know they're not really selling stuff other than I think 3D World you found in Asda, like
yes.
that was being sold.
Yeah.
But most cases you're being forced to buy online. But you previously had been a bit of an online buyer anyway, from the likes of Shop2, from the likes of Base, so.
I say Shop 2 has always been my go-to.
Day early sometimes.
And yeah, typically. I remember getting Gears 4. I think that came out on the Tuesday and I got it the Saturday before. I think that's the best I ever got.
Yeah.
So solid, 3-4 days early. But yeah, typically it was always the day before. So I always went with them. Then Base started to do it like £3 cheaper. So I was like, right, go to Base. But Base are terrible for delivery. Even if you just buy a game normally, they come like 6-7 days or something. It's ridiculous.
Second class Royal Mail, please.
It was. So I was like, right, why am I fucking doing this when it's like £3 more and I can get it the day before, whatever. And then yeah, that's what I've been doing typically. It's just sort of whoever's the cheapest, been going with them. And it did sting me. I went twice with Base and they know day one. And then, yeah, 3D World was the last one, although that was Simply Games, which are pretty good. But to be fair to them, I don't think that was them. I think that was Royal Mail. It could all be Royal Mail, to be honest.
Well,
I'm sure these game companies are probably going, right, chuck that out. That's nothing to do with us anymore.
It's left our warehouse, sir. So.
That's it. So it's nothing to do with them. That's why, yeah, the last time with 3D World, because it took so long, I think it was like 5 days after release or even longer than that. I went to Asda's and bought it, and then when the new one came, I just took that one back to Asda's. So I was shitting it because I didn't know whether the barcode would match up or not.
There was a rumour going round that Shop2 were sending out copies that didn't have UK barcodes, and that some people would go and trade it into game. They obviously use a barcode system to scan it, and it would reject it. This was a long time ago. This was like Xbox 360 era. So
okay.
I just remember that being a thing. So I might have just dragged Shop2 through the mud.
Trading was in its infancy.
Well, exactly. So I don't know about that, but yeah, and we're fortunate in this case that you got Monster Hunter Rise and you got a few goodies as well, which I think came early, didn't they?
So yes. So I tell you what, boom, it did come.
So for those that are listening, we've got a Steelbook.
Steelbook here.
Yep.
The main game. We've got Magnum Arlo Amiibo, which Hall doesn't have.
Hall does not have that, and he's one day we're going to get him on the Twitch stream to go through his Amiibo collection because it's insane. But he ain't got that one, that's for sure.
Go Sutton, pop that in your Switch. There you go, boy. What else did I get? Oh, and I got some key rings.
Yep, love a key ring.
Lovely key ring. He loves it still, but yeah. So got some goodies, and yeah, they came on the day. No day early, unfortunately, which
I thought that
Like,
stuff came early for some reason.
Oh, that stuff did. No, the amiibo came the day before.
Oh,
And then
okay.
all this came on the day.
On the day.
No, because I was
One
bricking it. I was like,
package.
cool. One package that, and then this beast was in a box about 3 times its size.
That's
Like,
about right, yeah.
Is that necessary, really?
Well,
I mean, I'll be livid if it was dented or whatever, even though I'm going to rip it out of the box soon. But yes, it came. It came, and I've stuck a solid 10 hours in.
Here we go.
10 lengthy hours. And
Well,
I'm sad to tell you that it's a bag of shit, and I'm going to take it back.
we'll get on to the 10-hour thing a bit later because I did want to query that because there's been other things going on. But we'll start with your report on Monster Hunter Rise.
Yep.
Now you played a bit of the demo. Any major differences from the demo? Anything that surprised you, or is it pretty much for muchness? And then we can get into the nitty gritty.
I mean, in terms of gameplay,
yeah,
it's the same as the demo.
Yeah.
But it's all about this home world. The quality of life improvements in this game. Oh, this is going to get your nipples tweaking, mate.
Go on then. Let's test it.
But yeah, in terms of the gameplay, yeah, it's the same. The wire bugs are a game changer now because you don't have that clutch claw that we got so used to. That now we've got these wire bugs that we can fly about. It just makes the action a lot more quicker. So if you get knocked over by like a monster, you can use your wire bag to get straight back into combat.
Right.
And another thing I'm fucking surprised about is it must be like how small the file of the game is. The loading's like comparable to these Xbox Ones.
Oh really? Quick.
Series X, sorry, they're fucking rapid. To actually get into like an actual mission, or even to fast travel, it's literally instant. And I'm like, cool, how's that doing? I've got to have the worst hard drive in history in that thing. But yeah, in terms of combat and like from playing the demo, yeah, it's much for much. There's a few different tweaks, like some of the moves and stuff. All the weapons are the same from World. But yeah, in combat wise and sort of gameplay loop, it is much for much exactly what you played in the demo.
Okay. How are you getting on with the shift and the cutting in half of frame rates, and probably generally a bit of a not as clean production and presentation that you had, especially on the PS5 where it was the butter smooth baby's arse liquid that we had of 60.
To be fair, like it has kept stable. It's surprising because you now have, especially like it's amazing when you're playing on multiplayer. Do you remember in World, if you had like more than 2, it would fuck your palicos off, so you'd just be left on your own.
Yeah.
Well, this you've got 3. You've got your palico,
yep,
a palamute, which is a dog that you can ride,
a hound.
And you've also got an owl as well. I forget what it's called now, and he does some sort of buffing in the background.
An owl.
But, yeah.
Did you get to name all 3 of these?
All 3 of them, yeah.
What you named them?
Phil is my name. My mate wanted me to name it Japanese. He went with something like, I can't remember his name, Kamamaru.
Yeah.
And then Clarky went with Ron Johnson. he was going to go with something Japanese. It's Sakura, but no, I went with classic Phil. I like British building names.
Right, yeah.
So I had, what was my last one? Nige was my last one.
Nige was the last one, yeah.
That's it. This is Phil we're going for today. He's got his cat, his Palico Felix.
Yep, standard.
And his Palamute, good boy.
Good boy.
So, but you can...
What about the owl?
Oh yeah, I didn't name the owl. I just left it.
Oh, come on!
I know. I need to go back. You can change it, so I will go back. But he ain't offering much. I don't know what he's in the background doing.
I reckon on the super hard master ranks, he'll be some sort of fucking buff god, and everyone will be like, "Cool, get the owl in. It's meta."
I could see that. But yeah, so they're being stayed. Well, I think you stay with at least one of them for the what's it called? But that's what I was saying. When that shit's going down, so we had like 3 of us have been playing with, plus all had at least one companion with us, and when you're all fighting at the same time, and there's particles and things. And to be fair, that frame rate doesn't dip at
No.
all. So it's pretty like, obviously there is a downgrade in it going down to 30. I did try it on our TVs. We can do like this fake 60 FPS where it basically enhances the refresh rate to 60.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like you can tell it's a fake 60. So like stuff in the background will be like 60 FPS, but then you'll be like moving in 30 and stuff. It's a
Right.
bit weird. But something like Animal Crossing, I always use it because it just feels like it's not a fast action game or anything, so it just feels normal.
Yeah.
But with this, you can sort of tell. So I did cut it down to 30, but for the most part, frame rates, you sort of get used to it. Like it will obviously benefit from a 60. And looks wise, to be fair, it's pretty good. Like there's some low res textures coming off of World. That's the trouble because World was gorgeous.
Yeah.
This is it definitely has a different feel to this. It's certainly less
It's got a
storier.
different feel, the builder.
Feel the builder's got, it's less sort of story orientated. There still is like story and stuff, but there was a lot more cutscenes and voice acting in World, whereas this is
Right.
sort of a cutscene, chuck you in on unbelievable amount of fucking tutorial systems. And if someone that went, like if Biff went, I'm going to give this one a go,
Yeah.
you'd just be like, oh, I don't know if you're ready for this, mate. It is so overwhelming.
But then what's the better way? That many tutorials to teach youngsters and younglings how it works, or World, which had a fair few tutorials but still left us cock in hand a few times. When it was
Yeah,
like,
that is
right.
true. So I think that's what they've done. I reckon they got feedback that, like, there was no hand holding, and obviously the Switch probably is designed for a younger generation ish.
Yeah.
You know,
I've seen these
much
kids
to
getting their
Sam-
grubby hands on the Switches.
Exactly, much to Salmon's dismay. Console of the year, but it is a kid's console, you see. But no, so yeah, I do wonder if that's why they've gone tutorial heavy and chucking a lot of information at you at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks all right. It does look fairly good. It's a sort of, it just is a hybrid of World and the old Switch game, the old handheld game. Sorry,
Yeah.
a bit more cartoon and stylized, but yeah, obviously brought down a peg in terms of graphic fidelity.
Interesting. So one thing I wanted to ask you about is kind of tied in. You mentioned there wasn't as many cutscenes and whatnot, but more about the setting of this, because Monster Hunter World seemed, I don't know if this is right or not, but it felt a bit more westernized just in general with the overarching plot. This appears to me from the outside that it might be set in some Japanese type land with a village and whatnot, and even like the styles of some of the armors I've seen kind of lends itself to that style. Is that a correct assumption? And how are you finding the overall setting?
Yeah, that's bang on. To be fair,
That's
I think
what I do.
where
So I get the big bucks
straight in the World, I think hardcore fans would sort of say it's their sort of westernized version of thing. Even though, like, you know, the hardcore fans do love it. It was a great game.
Great man, great dog.
Exactly. But yeah,
Good
it was
boy.
very westernized, and again with its story, voice acting and stuff. But yeah, this is definitely set in like a Japanese like set village. The stories,
Monsters of Tsushima.
exactly. I mean, look at the main character. He looks like a samurai.
Yeah.
You've literally got a samurai as the main guy and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely Western. It's really cool. If you're into that sort of style, you know, like the sort of feudal Japan sort of era.
Yes.
Edo era, is it? But yeah, like I say, it's not too much. I've only played about 10 hours so far.
Right.
And probably about 8 of those hours were multiplayer. So, you know, like when you're playing multiplayer, you're not really taking in too much story when you've got yapping going on.
Yeah. GBH
and
years.
yeah. But this, yeah, like I say, this sort of does cut a lot of the out in terms of that, and sort of from the get-go, you're like, cutscene, intro, go. And then you're just left off to your devices and a load of reading. But I tell you, the quality of life improvements in this game are just incredible as a player. So let me tell you some of this shit.
You tell
So
me
like,
what they've done, because the big thing about World was that they said it's a more palatable, more accessible version of it. It appears as though one of the aims of Rise is to kind of extend that road and make it a bit longer for those that perhaps haven't played it, and make things easier for the player and not as obtuse.
yeah. So straight off the bat, you can accept a mission from anywhere in the hub.
Oh,
So you ain't got to be going to no quest boards. You can be joining anything from anywhere. What else? You can fast travel throughout the. I think you could probably do that in Iceborne, couldn't you? I can't remember now.
yeah, you could.
What are the other things? There's no scout flyers anymore. That's been done away with.
Right.
I was like, cool. So you ain't got basically the.
How can you get rid of them?
No, exactly, yeah. But you remember you used to have to go and what's it? Fucking learn about each monster, and then you could find some of that
Right,
out.
so that's a good point, because when I played the demo, that was not. You just it just had like a direction of where the monster was,
That's it. Yeah.
and I was like, I wonder if it's just doing that for the demo, but is that the
No,
way the
that's
game's
how
structured? So
how it plays.
there's no footprints to find, there's no
Footprints or
studying.
nothing. But it does tell you, so you have a mini map. That's one. The only that is a negative I'd say about this game is the HUD
here we
is
go.
very busy.
Bitter bug coming up.
You can turn stuff. Bitter bugs are back.
Oh, back. Biff's still represented in Rise. That's important.
But yeah, it has got a busy HUD, I will say that. But you can turn bits and bobs off. But yeah, in the mini map in the corner, so you'll have like question marks, and that will be where each monster are. They're typically around a sort of 3 in a map at a time.
Right.
And then you obviously have to kill one, or you can go on an expedition and do all 3 if you want. So it's not as open as World.
So why is it not as open?
I don't know. I think they've just I don't know, because I think they're keeping it more sort of mission based rather than like in World you're sort of going off and doing them expeditions a lot to find the monster.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you'll get the mission structure is completely different in this one.
Okay.
So you'll have like there's like 2 sets of missions. You have like I think it's like village quests.
Yes.
And then hub quests, I think they are. So I think some of them are like single player plus multiplayer and that.
So yeah, I've heard that there are single player only quests, like the village quests are
That's
those.
it.
And one thing with that is obviously you don't have to wait for the cutscene before people can join, because you can only do it single player, and then the hub quests are single player or multiplayer.
Exactly. And that is the best thing as well. Another quality of life improvement is there is no cutscene waiting.
Right.
That cutscene comes before you enter that mission. So you can now SOS flare from the get-go. It's changed its name. I shit my pants because I Googled it and said, is there SOS flare? And then it said on there, no, there's no SOS flare, but there is a similar feature that's been removed. It's called like join request or something. But it's essentially the same thing. But
Fair enough.
you can do that from the hub world and either go in with people, but what it does is it literally plays the cutscene before you go in.
Right.
So whereas in World you'd go and find your fucking footprints, follow them until you come up to it, then it would do the cutscene. Well, this is just doing the cutscene off the bat, and then you go, oh right, so this is the monster I'm going to kill, and then you go into it and go and find it and give it a good levering. But yeah, so it's little bits like that, just being able to accept mission requests from wherever you are, fast travel to different areas in the hub map. Everything goes to your item box now as well. So like even any like even pelts and like the bones and carvings you get, they go all into your item box.
Right.
I don't know what the benefit of that is, to be honest, but I suppose it's just so you know where everything is and what you've got, rather than having to go through all that wish list bollocks and go, right, I need 3 more ornaments or whatever.
Yeah. So what's this village like then?
But the village, yeah, this is
or the hub, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So that's the thing as well. Now the gathering hub, there is a gathering hub, but you can go anywhere in the world as well, like in the village with. If
Your
you join
party.
a server with someone, you're not stuck in there.
So you don't have to go to the gathering hub to see others. It's just
Yeah.
you could just load into a village and there's people sitting on the roofs going, "Hello."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty cool. But yeah, the village, it's so many different sections. It's a lot bigger than World or
Oh, I
Iceborne.
don't want bigger Adkins.
But it's all flat. It's all flat, and like I say,
Right.
don't travelling. But there's loads of NPCs. So you've got like a buddy section. The training area is just like incredible. It's like I think if you've seen it, it's like a big toad type thing.
Yeah.
No, it's a platypus, I think.
Yeah.
And you can sort of make it move to however you want.
You can choose different like paths, can't you, for it, or attack
That's
patterns,
it.
and yeah.
That's it. And
Sounds a bit like what's the name used to be. Smash. You think you can do that in training on that?
Yeah,
you can
that's right.
set it to do certain things. So
Yeah, so it's so much better in terms of that. The hunter notes in this, like I say, I think because at first you don't have the information, but if you find the monster, and I think literally all you have to do is cite it, and then it will give you the information. But the Wikipedia that you get it's like a Wikipedia rather than it just go, it's like fire 3-star thing like that. It now tells you what percentage of what it will drop, and what percentage it will do with each weapon. So if you're like aiming for something and you're like, I really need that, so it'll tell you what's the best weapon to use and what part to it and stuff, and it will give you a percentage of that drop. It's like incredible information, really. It really is for the fucking proper Monster Hunter nerds like us. But yeah, just these little quality, like they're very minimal. Like obviously to the untrained eye, people are like, "What? It just sounds like basic shit." But when you're playing the sort of the repetitiveness of this game loop, little things like that, just being able to accept a quest wherever you are, and just being able to fast travel. Even just that fucking dog, being able to run around on that dog.
Right.
I know you had the towel. Towel riders.
Towel right. Yeah. So this is the thing. I put the demo on. I got on the dog. I couldn't work out how to sit there and make it do it for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
Don't think you can.
Right, and you know me, the reason why I love Assassin's Creed Valhalla so much, so I can put a quest marker on the other side of the world, set the horse off, and put my feet up, and it'll take me there, and I'll watch it, I'll relax, I'll meditate whilst the horse is travelling across. That's why a lot of tail riders in World is because I could just set the hunter,
just sit there and do that.
Yeah, and it would just find it. And also when the monster fleed, it would automatically just follow it. Anyway,
here's why. The reason that isn't introduced in this
here we go.
is because
Destiny
syndrome inbound. To be fair, I think with World, you could explore the area, but really, what was there to explore? All you had was like bones and what's it called? Mining ores, basically. That was it, and a few null berries.
Hey, that's where you get all the tail riders from, exploring, find the little base and saying hello.
That's true, yeah. I don't think they have that. I think it's literally one base in this, which is annoying. I quite like that bit. But this game feels like it rewards you a lot more for exploration because you get buffs just based on the little flyers that fly around, like the endemic life that's about. You get buffs off of them.
Yes.
So rather than just heading straight for the monster, your best bet is to just fucking dart about on that dog, pick up all the sort of buffs and get your sort of stats up before you head in. And yeah, it just, there's, like you say, there's still stuff to be rewarded. Like you've got the same, I think there are like palicos and stuff you can pick up and send out, whatever. There's some like hidden lore that you can pick up.
Oh, rich backstory.
But it certainly definitely lends itself more to an exploration than just sort of, go to the monster and fuck it up.
I was picking up footprints. I love that.
Yeah, it does seem weird because like that's what you were just so used to. That was
also,
like
the tail riders would do that. They would,
would they?
if you didn't have the location of the monster already unlocked, like because after you got to a certain level, it would show you on the map. The tail riders would find the nearest footprint and follow the trail, which was fucking handy. Interesting. So you spent, you reckon, 8 hours playing it cooperatively. How was the performance on co-op? Yeah, I mean that's obviously a bit of a concern for some people, but the Switch offers and this will probably be something for people, you know, who don't want to play online. But there's also more local options with the Switch because. You know, those stupid adverts they showed us when it first came out about people playing on rooftops with 4 switches. We all laughed at them, but that functionality is here, and this could be a game where it's useful.
In terms of its connectivity, it's absolutely flawless. Like, there is no lag whatsoever. We didn't have zero sort of fucking glitches or lag or any
slowdown of people getting into servers or whatever.
Exactly. No, nothing like that. And it's snappy, quick join. You can also join people's games, which that is another huge thing, which I couldn't do. So if I saw you online and you were playing
give you
with
a code
an
or something,
server,
didn't I?
yeah, that's it. You had to invite me in and code. Well, I could just you can set it to private. I'm sure if you don't want any fucker turning up, but I can just join your game, and it just chucks me in with it. It's incredibly fast. The biggest downside, and this is Monster World's problem, this is the Nintendo Switch, is that fucking voice chat. Because I suppose arguably you probably don't. I don't know. Do you need a chat? I suppose you do a bit.
So here's the thing: Monster Hunter World. You play with randoms. You don't need that chat. It ain't required. People just get on with it and know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But where you, Clarky, and Pizzola were playing it as a social thing,
Yeah.
you want it. You don't want to be sitting there in
that's
silence. Otherwise, you might as well be playing with fucking nobody over the other side of the world.
Very true.
So that's the way I've always viewed it. Is that for a social thing, you kind of want that. I don't know how much you shout out to each other with tactics, but it's that other thing of just when you're wandering around, it's just like having a chat, having a laugh.
Yeah, that's very true. So the first night that on Friday when we got it, we did a session, and my fucking phone was like 10% battery, so we had to go through. We tried Discord voice chat, but for some reason it just fucking was terrible.
Mate, you want to get on the Dimp server, boosted,
yeah, that's the one.
Extra bandwidth for those that are members of the staff and or Patreon. Actually, that's not true. I haven't set that up yet. One day.
One day. But yeah, so we tried WhatsApp, and because the Nintendo Switch do have their own app, but you can only use it for certain games, and Monster Hunter Rise isn't fucking compatible yet, which is fucking ludicrous. Yeah, ludicrous. But so we ended up doing WhatsApp, and like I had them on like loudspeaker on my phone whilst I was fucking playing. It was ridiculous. And in the end, we just turned on our PlayStation and used the chat from that. Just turned the I had my PlayStation controller with the fucking headset plugged in whilst playing my Switch. I was like, fucking hell. But yeah, so that's the only downside. If you are gonna get it and you've committed, you've got a gang, do be wary of this fucking chat because it is bollocks.
Oh my god!
It will require you an extra console. If you ain't got one, you've got to go and buy.
Make sure you got an Xbox or a PlayStation or something. Otherwise you're up shit creek. How funny. Okay, well that is what it's felt like with Rise is that it's not necessarily the game that's getting in its own way. It's more that because it's going on Switch, it's having to concede certain things, whether it's in the visuals and the frame rate and whatever, and things like voice chat.
Yeah.
How is that? Does that have an effect on your outcome of the game? The fact that it's only available on this platform, so it's not like people are like, you should play it on Master Race, Adkins. It's much better. You can't do that as we speak, and you won't be able to for another year or so. Is that a bit of a blower?
It is a bit of a blower.
Would you have preferred it just being on PS5?
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, I do like that they've done it on Switch because it does give me an excuse to play it because I don't fucking play it enough, that Switch. So it's something like that. But yeah, the restrictions are a hindrance, but not as much as I thought they would be. Like once you do knuckle down and start playing, you do sort of tend to forget it. The only thing I did get out with World is I'm not noticing a lot of help when it's come to using that fucking SOS flare, but like I say, it did have that in World sometimes. So
in my head, that SOS unit on the Switch should be brilliant with people.
Yeah, because they're all new and they're all
new, and we know that
one console.
We know that, and in Japan, like the handheld Switch is like one of the more popular than probably the PlayStation. I don't know the exact figures; I could be wrong, but I just expected you'd get a lot more uptake from that. But
Yeah.
maybe it's because it's
Yeah, I
early in the
suppose you could.
game. People aren't. They're trying to look
That's
after
it.
themselves to start with.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I suppose it is just the week, but yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have it on all consoles and whatnot. Uh, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see because, like you say, it is dialed back. It will be interesting to see what they add from now until the PC release and what
Yes.
gets boosted. Um, they've already confirmed that they'll be like adding like the master rank thing.
Mm.
I think they're sticking with high rank or master rank. I'm not sure. It used to be called G rank.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're doing that, but that's still to come. So yeah, it will be interesting, but yeah, it definitely it has that sort of Switch charm to it. Sort of it is watered down, but like I say, it's not. The only pull like I say, it's more they're less story orientated and more sort of gameplay focus. It's just sort of like right, get out and do your missions. That's it, and
Get
it's
your
very
gear.
short and snappy as well. That's the sort of whereas World it would have you doing multiple missions just to get to something.
Yeah.
Like you'd literally have to do those expedition missions. Well, these ain't to be seen. You've got optionals in here, which are your village quests where you like go out and fucking kill 20 bloody
Shitters. Yeah.
shitters and that, and collect 20 bloody bitter bugs biffs, deliver them. But there isn't in the mission like when you're going through the story missions. It's strange because they're not. It's whereas World you had like one path, didn't you? And it's like assigned missions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's not here. This is you're having to just do like I think like it's giving you 3 or 4 options to choose from,
You just go out
and
and do
then
it.
you just do them, and then it continues and moves you to the next rank or whatever. And then, but it gives you a list of other optional missions, which I've been sort of just clearing that down, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
And
then
also, if you want your gear, you'll have to do some of
exactly,
And can you redo the optional stuff if you
yeah, you
need?
can do it. Yeah, you can still do it. You can just keep
Still
playing it,
redo
and
it.
whatever, and reap the rewards. Yeah, the grind is still there. But yeah, like, it definitely feels like it's less orientated, and you're not doing it so much. That it is literally just go out and hunt, basically, and enjoy these new mechanics.
Interesting. Well, you said there's something that might grab by the bollards.
Well,
You
I've said it
mentioned
now, so
what was it? What bit?
it was just basically the quality of life improvements. I'm still trying to think of what else there is.
I thought there was something like he was talking about the amiibo or some sort of daily. I don't know what it was. I thought there was something else.
I've
Like
lied to you.
there's going to be a watershed moment.
I mean, I've not even got to this fucking rampage mode yet,
No,
which is
yeah,
annoying. I wanted to give some feedback on that, but that's obviously I think that's more story and orientated.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just I suppose that like when you play them in person, there are just minimal changes. But
when you're
when
playing it.
exactly like me and you, where we stuck over 100 hours in each,
Yeah.
when you
Surprised you've
like,
got the fucking minerals to play this still.
exactly, yeah. I've got to say it's annoying because
Hit
I've been having
burnout.
I've been having a fucking Krieg buzz for the last week,
Wow.
and now this has come along and it's sort of taken me away. But I do want to continue with both. Let me just have a little look and see. It's just little things that I just think, oh, that would like if having that in World would just be such a game changer. Live on air, just
There it is.
just playing. But yeah, the majority of stuff is still here, but it's just the ease of doing stuff. Just trying to see if any of this jogs anything that I haven't
Them
mentioned.
memories.
So it's just like quality of life improvements basically, of being able to do stuff a lot snappier and quicker.
Mm.
And especially just like we said in our no, I can't think. I think I've said everything really.
I'll be. I think one of the points you raised is good. That I'll be interested to see how many, if any, enhancements they make to the PC version.
Yeah.
Like, or whether they just port it over as it is, and then Master Race get their hands on it and go, oh,
Yeah.
scruffy.
I was gonna say. I mean, you do get like Resident Evil Revelations, that's a 3DS game, and that's on PC. So you do get games like that, but like I say, it definitely feels like a Switch game. So it will be interesting to see if there is any enhancements or not. But
Hoping for crossplay.
yeah, that's a big thing as well. We didn't get that with there. I think that's something they should definitely look into in this day and age.
Nowadays, get that crossplay installed if you're a multiplayer game. That should be on the roadmap. If not, it should be there day one, like it is for fucking Outriders coming in.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'll just be interested for you to have a couple of hours with it, just to feel the differences, because there are marginal differences, even in button layout and stuff, and things that you do. It's just a bit of a change of pace. Certainly, like I say, a lot snappier and quicker, and I'm watered down. But I'm enjoying it so far. Definitely, just
good.
Back on the grind.
Well, we'll check back in at a later date, probably post Easter, see how you're getting on with Monster Hunter Rise. That's a good initial opinion piece on that particular title. So looking forward to hearing more about that, hearing what these rampage modes like, seeing
that's
how you get on with the co-op play remotely and whatnot. But it's on Switch. If like, it's a bit of a killer app for the Switch, so I expect it to sell very, very well. And
like
the
you say, I think
critical acclaim has been pretty decent. I think you was expecting a little bit higher, but it's coming in about maybe 5 lower than what we was expecting. But still, nothing to sniff at sort of mid to high 80s.
Yeah. I tell you, I definitely think you're right. Like, this is sort of giving the East Side boys a lot more of their game back, whereas like World was very westernized and certainly
water it down for me.
Yeah, that's it, and that obviously was the game that got us on board. So
I know,
got
the hooks in. Now they've got another sale, at least one.
Exactly.
I'll definitely be sniffing around it. I'm in a bit of a weird space at the moment where I'm not sure. I feel like I need to sit down for a half a day and plan out what I'm going to do for the next few months.
Yeah,
and I've just come off the back of Final Fantasy 15, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And off the back of World, which was a big commitment, 90, 100 hours odd. And looking down the pipe, it's not a great deal coming, so I need to really have a think. I just know I've got games on the backlog that could be looked at. But
yeah, it's not one that you're missing out by not playing it right now. That's the good thing. And to be like, it was such a stinker that they've announced that PC version, because I mean, that must have cost them some sales, even though they'll be getting them later on down the line. But yeah, just to announce that before this one's out, it was a weird thing to do, but
got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Master Race clacking for it, so give me one Monster Hunter. They went, all right, you have a Switch port, and they were like, well, not that. That won't go on ultra wide, will it, Salmon? It might do. We'll see when they fucking announce some details. Final Fantasy 15. Now, blast from the past. People go,
did you listen to my review?
I did. I went back. Yeah, so you reviewed the game for us many moons ago. It wouldn't have been on any of our podcast feed. It was on our YouTube channel when we was just doing separate reviews on there and whatnot. And I think you reviewed it about a year after it come out, because you'd one of those ones that you'd got and then didn't get through and finish.
Chucked it back,
which is fine. Sometimes we do things like that. That's what happens. But yeah, I went back and listened to some of your opinions. I don't think, to be honest, there's a lot that's off base there.
No, because it has changed a lot since.
It has, yeah.
Some of that stuff you were telling me.
Yeah, so I played this on the PlayStation Plus collection via PS5. So if you've got a PS5, and I think you have to be a member of PlayStation Plus, there's a number of games that kind of were there from day one. This was one of them, Final Fantasy 15, and it's the Royal Edition.
Cool.
The Royale with cheese. Yes. And that includes the base game, a load of added extras like the radio stations on the car. There's tons of other optional soundtracks like Tomb Raider and other Square Enix titles that you can
get none of that.
You can go through that. It includes, I think it's 3 episodes for each of your party members. So it's 3 like little 2-hour DLC packs for each. Well, I think they're about 2 hours. I actually haven't played them because, well, I'll tell you
Give us
why
the time.
later on. Yeah, I've got loads of time, and I didn't want to really rush through it again. I kind of wanted a break to see if I actually wanted to go back. And they have since launch have made tons of changes to this game, much like they do with Monster Hunter. It's been one of those games. It's been constantly updated, and Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition looks, particularly at the back end. I think the main thing they've changed is in like the final act or so. They've made a lot of changes. Like they've made particularly one part go from about 20 minutes to 2 to 3 hours worth of content if you want it. It made like a new hub almost. So they've added a lot of stuff. But one of the key things that I thought was great playing on the PS5, and this is something you called out on your review, was that you've got access to performance mode, a quality mode, and a light mode. Performance and the quality mode run like absolute donkey shit.
Even on that PS5?
Even on the PS5, honestly, they run like absolute arse wipe. I don't know what they've done. The light mode is 60 FPS, reasonably flawless.
Right.
But the other two, honestly, good grief, absolute took.
pig. Yeah, I remember it being a pig of a game. I wonder if they've just focused on that, because I think Digital Foundry did a video, and I remember them saying that the light mode was the best option to go with. And I wonder if they've gone like that's your bread and butter now. Let's sort that out. Fuck the other two.
Yeah. So I played it on the light mode primarily, and some of the changes that come with it. You can now control the other characters.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
I mean, you can unlock it. You have to unlock it. It's part of like the
Right.
stat unlock. It's not there from day one. I think you need like 20 action points to do that, which is quite easily achievable to get. And I actually didn't do that because I didn't really want to. I thought I was happy with Noctis, to be fair.
Yeah.
And there's new bosses, there's new quests, there's a whole new kind of dungeon towards the back end of the game that wasn't there before. It was quite a light touch things, but there's a whole new hub and dungeon added with optional stuff at the back end.
It's a big update, isn't it?
There's a hell of a lot there. Now the only thing they've done, which is a bit of a stinker, is one of the DLCs is not included in the Raw edition.
Cool.
So you've got one for each of your other members, like Gladius, Old Iggy, and Old Prompto. Is it Prompto? Can't remember if that's how you pronounce it now.
Blonde chap, isn't it?
Yeah, he's the little picture taker. He's loving life. He's loving life. But one of the key characters in the game is a chap named Ardin, and he's got his own DLC package. That's the one you got to pay for. So it's £4. Now, what happened was I was playing the game pretty much for about 10 days. It took me to complete it. So I started it and finished it within 10 days. So I did a pretty good haul. During the first 9 days, it was on offer for £2. I kept seeing it. And then obviously the day I completed it, I was like, oh, you know what? I might go back and do the DLC. It went up to $4.99 or $3.99. I was like, well, I've seen it £2 cheaper. I'm not having that, or £1, whatever the fucking stat was. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
So I ain't got it, and we'll see about that. But that's the one they've kept back. I spoke to Evan from Pixel Pints, and he said that's the one that's probably the best one to play.
Really? Oh, right.
So Square, they know what they're doing. They're like, we'll hold that one back behind closed doors. So that's a little bit disappointing, but not entirely unexpected. But yeah, it was overall, I think I've done 38-ish hours from start to finish. And I don't know if you had any specific questions that you wanted to ask, but if not, I've got a few hits and misses that I can run through in various detail. And
have you looked at the OG stuff? Have you, like, just to see how different? I remember, obviously, there's changes to the famous Chapter 13.
Yes.
Have you done? Yeah. Have you gone back and looked at that sort of thing and gone, "Oh, this is the way to do it"?
Yeah. So Chapter 13 in particular is infamous, like you said, because everyone fucking hated it at launch. Now they've not done anything. Well, they've added a new way of playing it. So when you get to that chapter, I think you mentioned this, it was there when you played it.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah,
really?
you can choose to carry on playing as Noctis, or you can change to Iggy and Gladius. But what it says, not, do you want to play this as Noctis, normal mode, or Gladius and Iggy, easy mode? So you goaded me at that point. I'm not going to put it on fucking easy mode, am I? So they got me there, and I played as Noctis. But the main thing they've done in that area to make it more palatable to people is increase the damage of your weapon, because previously apparently it was almost impossible to do damage with the weapon you're given, and just make the enemies not as hard. So actually playing through it, whilst the structure of that particular part wasn't the best in the game, it was certainly one of the more going back and forth, collecting keys and just doing mundane stuff. It wasn't as frustrating as I'd imagined people when they first played this, because they've made it possible that you can actually fight back. And I think they were going for a bit of a survival horror type vibe initially, but now you can just play it pretty much as normal and you won't have any trouble with it, other than it's just a bit boring. Yeah. And then that really kind of sums up the game almost, because it's a game of two halves, almost literally. Yeah. It's a game of 2/3 and 1/3. The first sort of 2/3 that I spent in the open world area, fucking loved it. Like really, really just enjoyed that world and just riding around with the guys and doing side quests, leveling up, fighting monsters, going out on hunt. It's always a bit like Monster Hunter sometimes. I go and get a hunt, go and like kill a few enemies, level up. It was all great.
Yeah, it was essentially.
Put your campfire out, level up, and then sometimes you get like a dynamic sort of side quest off the back of that. And I was like, oh, they've really put thought into this. And then the final kind of third, maybe half. I don't think it's quite half, because I think I spent like 28 hours in the open world and then 10 in the last sort of bit. So it's about about a third or so. And or quarter maybe. But the final, where it goes more linear, essentially, there's a part where you leave the open world, it kind of starts to unravel at that point. Yeah. It starts to become an issue, and you notice that, I don't know if they ran out of time, or if they rushed through it, or what, but it's certainly the least enjoyable part of the game. And it's strange, considering that the open world is definitely not perfect. Like, there's still issues with that, but it's so much better thought out than what the last kind of third is. And that's and also what they do, which is frustrating pacing wise, they cram so much narrative, so much.
I was going to say, I remember
of the story
the conclusion to the story and stuff. Sort of,
they chuck it all in that last third.
Yeah,
and it's hard to keep up with Adkins. I mean, I've not played a lot of Final Fantasy games. I know they're pretty much self-contained within reason, but fuck me, that last third or so, I was like, I'm getting lost here. Who's? Hello.
Hello, it does. The sort of Japanese of it comes out. I remember thinking, just like, cool, hang on, now it's like a full-on anime. Before it was just like a boy band in the fucking desert.
Yeah.
It does. But no, it definitely sounds like they've made some improvements, some changes. I guess, the game, because when did it come out? Was it 2016? Did you say?
I believe it was 2016. I can almost find out for sure if I do this correctly.
It's good that they've made some changes and tried to sell this definitive edition.
Well, they gave it me.
I'll give it to you. Of course they did.
They gave it me.
And it is good, but
So, I mean,
it's these closing faults.
Yeah, so I think some of the hits that they put into it, some of the good points, is like the open world is definitely the highlight. Those moments with the camp and chatting to your mates. The one thing they miss terribly, and this is something that's just come from Sony games, Uncharted, God of War, Last of Us Part, whatever you want to call it. You've always got a companion with you, pretty much in those games. You notice you've got, the kid, or you've got Ellie, or what's that, Sam Drake in Uncharted 4. You kind of, and even in Uncharted Lost Legacy. And it's the back and forth between the characters as you're going from A to B, C to D, driving around. There's a lot of chatter going on, a lot of conjecture, a lot of narrative going there. Now, you spend a lot of time in this fucking car with these four, And honestly, it's like a bad night of Killian's. Like, it's really
There's
like a
zero
morgue. There's
chat.
no chat. Like, very. And I was just thinking,
Crampto.
yeah, there's sometimes they do it. Like, there's
Yeah.
like 20% they'll chat randomly, and I was like, oh, that's nice because it gives you a little bit more of a bit of detail about these guys. And then a lot of the time though, you drive from A to B, and it's just like dead silence. The annoying thing is, like, Prompto will turn round and like be mouthing like he's talking to someone in the.
Yeah.
But they've put no dialogue there. I was like, oh, just that.
Oh,
Maybe I wouldn't have
square, what
expected
you
it
done?
back then, but that was a missed opportunity in a way. And yeah, the music's fucking ace. So
Yeah.
that's a definite hit. The music is so good, and I love that soundtrack. It feels epic. The game, it really fits the narrative and whatnot. One weird thing I just found about the setting is I'm not sure if I'm okay with magical swords, cars from 2 decades ago, and then like diners that are modern. Like, it's a very weird mixture of eras and elements. I guess that's maybe what Final Fantasy is sometimes, but particularly in this one, it felt like it was set in a modern world, but with weird like machinery and stuff that was backwards, and people still using like swords, but they're magic swords sometimes. And
Yeah, it is a bizarre concept. Like, the whole dynamic of it, the whole like royal side of it as well, like the king's Prince Noctis and all that, set in a
yes, you don't
relationship.
feel like you feel like a bit of a diva. You feel like more
you
of a
do.
pop
I
star.
was gonna say a lot of people do dislike Noctis and call him a bit of a brat.
He's all right.
He's fine. He's fine. He got himself onto Tekken as a character.
Oh, there you go.
Unbelievably. There you go. But
What are people complaining about?
I enjoyed it. I can't remember. Do you remember what score I give it? I think we were doing out of 100 back then, weren't we? Or out of 10?
Oh yeah, I think it was in the 8s of the night.
The
Yeah,
eights,
I
was
can't
it?
remember
What
exactly.
if we was doing it now and then thumbs were being put up?
I think he was a one thummer.
Was I one thumb?
yeah.
Is that what you?
I would tend to agree. Yeah, that although there were things that really annoyed me, like it let me. There was a quest where I had to collect some oil off of a beast. Go and
Right.
kill it. You get the oil. It puts the oil in your treasure item bag, which is for selling stuff. So obviously, I'm taking out. You got 100 quests at some point. You got about 10 quests going. You kind of do bits of them. Then when you get near a place, you go, I go and hand it in because I'm over this side of the map. So, but between the time that I got the oil and then went back to the lady to hand it in, I'd sold it. But the game didn't recognise that I'd done that, so it's still the waypoint was still directing me to her and saying, "Hand her the oil." I was like, "I don't fucking have the oil." I didn't know I didn't have the oil. Even it took me a while to figure it out. I had to manually go back, find the fucking beast, and then you realise that it's RNG. So I had to kill about 15 of them to fucking get it. I was like,
Stinker.
that's sloppy. The second thing that's sloppy is that the amount of times I went to interact with something and Noctis jumped. My God.
Yeah.
My God, what is going on with those button prompts? They are not accurate whatsoever. One side quest wouldn't load in. There was like supposed to be something on the table for me to interact with to start the quest, and it just weren't there, so I had to reload the game and it appeared. I had one crash. We've mentioned about the non-open world stuff being just like poor, and yeah, I mean overall, really some fantastic highs,
Yeah.
but some really dire lows. Definitely suffers from inconsistency, and it feels like, and if you read up on the history of this development of this game, this probably isn't surprising, but it feels like at times there's cracks that have just been papered over.
Yeah.
Like they're just trying to hold it together and keep it hanging on by a thread. And the other thing really is that it kind of stumbles over the line. Like the back end of it's really just I appreciate them trying to change the pace of it, but I don't think they made it that engaging. And also the narrative took a bit of a nosedive. It's just difficult to follow. And the annoying thing is, like if you do the cliff notes of this story of what actually happens from when you start with Noctis to where you end, and some of like the major plot points between, it's really good. It's a great actual A to B story, but they just don't execute it properly.
No.
and that's a bit of a pain.
That fucking Kojima Metal Gear Solid 5 syndrome creeping in.
Yeah, it's not far off that. But overall, one thumb
Yeah,
easy. Like,
one
definitely Final Fantasy Raw Edition, one thumb. I don't know if I'll do the DLC. I might just YouTube them just to figure out what's happened. Because, I mean, one of the complaints is that some of the plot points are off camera and you don't find out really what happens.
No sort of resolution, is there really?
But what I've kind of discovered from this game is that it really is just Noctis's view of or his perspective of what happens.
Yeah.
There's a few bits where he's not there in cutscenes, like a couple of bits, but generally everything major that happens he's a part of, and the stuff that happens outside of him either being away or unconscious or somewhere else, you only ever get told the result of it. You don't get to see exactly how it happened. It's just like, so and so's gone. It's like, oh shit. But you don't find out or see how, which I actually quite like that it's just kind of mainly from Noctis's perspective. But
yeah,
it's a strange game, but
I'm
glad I played it. It was good fun.
Yeah, it
was
definitely
good fun.
Sets you up for 7, which
I'm looking forward to.
Definitely get into. Just a quick question: how much fishing did you do? Because they actually released a fishing game.
I know. Yeah, I did. I think I got to the last fishing quest, and I haven't done it yet.
No.
Because I've fished everything in the area and it wasn't there, and I was like, right, is this now getting RNG'd? But yeah, I did a fair bit of fishing, got up to like level 7 or 8, I think. But really, the side quests are good fun, like the chocobos to run around. It's so the open world's so much fun to play around. It's not brimming with life or anything like that. It's not like a simulation, but it's good fun just to drive around with those 4. Stop for a quick photo shoot now and again.
Yeah.
Cook up a meal, level up, and then crack on. And they have a bit of banter sometimes when they decide to put the dialogue in. And really, that's the key to the story, is those 4 really, and their relationship. And really, that's a good one to play through if you've got access to it. And you'll have to deal with some bollocks, but you have to deal with a lot of bollocks in a lot of games these days. So that's that. I thought we could finish up with, and I don't know how much time we got, but we'll just run it as long as needs to. And this is directly off the back of Final Fantasy 15, having played through that, because in the lead up to Final Fantasy 15, there was a animated film, KingsGlaive, that was released, and a 5-part animated series. It was they were about 10, 15 minutes long each. So it's not a big commitment. That, I guess my question is, because I didn't watch any of this before I started. I finished it, then went back and watched them. It kind of gave me a kind of a perspective on it. But I guess the overarching question is, what do you think of companion pieces of media, like a film, like an anime, extra bits that you can, or in some cases have to consume before playing the game to get the most out of the story that you're being told within the video game?
Yeah, I do like them personally, providing they're done right. Like with this, I watched the anime series, and did the film come out before the game?
Yes, yeah,
It did. I definitely remember watching it at the time. But yeah, so I do like that. I'm not 100% sure if I like the idea of being made, like, if it requires you to do it, so you have to know a bit of the backstory.
Yeah.
So like playing a game and sort of you'd be like, who the fuck's, what's this? They didn't explain well. And they'd be like, oh, well, if you watch the series, then you'd know who this is and it would make sense. That sort of thing I think's a bit like, come on, mate, fucking hell, I'm a gamer here. I don't want to watch fucking TV series. But typically, it's like, I like when it's becoming more and more now, like these films and series are being introduced. The trouble is, especially with films, they're renowned for not being good films. Typically, games do not convert well into movie stories.
No.
I'll go the Resident Evil franchise. Now, there were books made of the Resident Evil games, which I've never read myself, but have heard glaring reviews from, and sort of does fill out the world and the lore and stuff. So things like that. There's Halo books as well. You know.
There's an Assassin's Creed prequel comic which confirms Ava was a girl.
Oh,
So
really?
so there's your canon.
Oh, unbelievable,
Reset.
Jeff. And they let women be Vikings in this day and age.
Well, there's fucking apples of Eden that control people's minds in Assassin's Creed series. So I quite actually, side point, I like the overall narrative of what's going on with Assassin's Creed. Like all the god stuff actually is like explainable by the events that took place before the games are made. But that's one thing that I would happily sit through a fucking proper TV show to explain half that shit. Because...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because a lot of this shit is sort of, a lot of it does require stuff. You know, like say Last of Us, for instance. Like we don't really typically know a great deal about the Fireflies and stuff. So if you had like a TV series, which they're doing, if that was just solely based on the sort of thing like Fireflies and you got more information, that sort of thing I would much prefer rather than a like for like remake of the first game. What was Castlevania, the anime series there? I thought that was quite a good sort of extension of that world and lore. But yeah, so I think I do like this sort of stuff.
But you like them to be you don't want, because what happened with Final Fantasy 15 in particular was before it came out, they was like, right, we've got a film, anime, like it's completely linked and tied to this video game. Which I planned to watch. I remember I planned to play this game on release and planned to watch this stuff. I even had KingsGlaive ready to watch for years, and I never sat down and watched it until afterwards. But I suppose that's a bit of a tougher ask in that you're going to pay 50, 60, in Sony's case, 70 UK pounds for a game. They're like, right, if you want some of the backstory, it's in this anime. To be fair, the YouTube series is free on YouTube.
I think
KingsGlaive wasn't. That was a purchasable thing. And for me to watch it, I had to call in an old Rakatuian, that weird film streaming thing. I'll get a monthly code, and it was on there. So I was like, okay, I'll just use that for that. But it wasn't easy to get hold of. I guess my view is that if you're going to put this stuff in for the game, like it's not required, but it's supporting it, it should be available within the game itself to watch or to at least be recapped. And that doesn't happen in Final Fantasy 15's case. I know it's an old example. I can't think of too many other games that have really done it. To be honest,
what about blurring the line? And you've got the likes of Quantum Break.
That was just
TV series within a game.
I think there's always this. People want it. People want all the crossovers. They want it, but then I've yet to see it executed to a high enough standard where I'd regularly sign it off. If I'm Alan signing it off, I'll be like, nah.
Well, the trouble is, these narrative-driven games, they're always questing to be a Hollywood movie, aren't they? You know, like Last of Us. People say like it's just such a great story. It would make such a good film. It's the most sort of, you know, a tangible film, but it's the playing of the games that makes it that immersive. I think if you're watching it, it wouldn't have that much of an impact. But they always say like it's the perfect, like, you know, Uncharted could be like the next Indiana Jones. So this like you say, there's always going to be this call for it, and to be honest, I do enjoy that. There's been a few more announced recently. I can't remember what else has just been announced. There's a Resident Evil film coming out, isn't there? Live action. There's a series on Netflix. I think there's some fucking weird ones. There's like Dragon's Dogma, is it? There's a series about that. And typically, the the more Japanese games, then they sort of lend themselves for anime, like Nier anime, Devil May Cry, that sort of thing. It's good. It's a good thing, you know. It gives them the world rather than it just being a one done game and that's it. You don't know fuck all about that world, especially if it's a game you like. So say something like Days Gone. Like, we enjoy that game. It's not you know, it's not critically acclaimed as one of the greatest that ever lived, but
No.
I quite like that setting, and that I would like to know a bit more about that sort of world, rather than it being a one-done game, nothing more.
Yeah.
If we'd got like an anime series or or a comic, something like that, just to fill out that world, I can see that sort of thing. But
So what
yeah,
we're saying is we don't mind post-game stuff, but we don't want any pre-game lure to be added. And yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I think stuff that's separated but connected, or just like they're doing the Last of Us TV show, that's not going to be the same canon as the game. It's going to use the same characters, the same world, but it's going to be a different approach or a different. I don't mind that at all.
quite like that's why Witcher's quite good, because
Yes.
it doesn't. Even though it's known primarily, probably these days, as a gaming series, that originated as a book series, and that's what they're going off rather than the game. You know, it's difficult. The hardest thing is that the games are visual entities, aren't they? So you're seeing what you're perceiving as that character and that.
Yeah.
So when you see that character in a different medium and it's, you know, based off of the book or something, you think, oh, it looks nothing like him. It's hard to comprehend in the brain.
It's not just that. It's like if you read a book of something, you obviously have your own picture of them.
Yeah.
But you don't actually ever... You never hear what they sound like. You never see what they look like. So when the film or the TV show comes along, I think the barrier's a bit lower. You can go, okay, that's them. But once in a video game where they've got Nolan North's voice and they look like fucking Nathan Drake, like it's hard to get over that for some people.
I'd
but
agree.
In terms of KingsGlaive Brotherhood, I actually prefer Brotherhood in the end. I quite liked that little series because I'll tell you why.
Each character was it?
He's kind of So the reason why, because KingsGlaive essentially is the story of what happens. You leave like the Crown City, Insomnia, and then it's the story of what happens after you leave, and you hear about what happens whilst you're out in the field, but you never really see it within the game.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you don't know what's really happened," which is true. There's a lot of stuff that happens to other characters and a lot of stuff that happens in KingsGlaive the film that you just are not aware of as a video game player. I'm kind of glad I played it backwards in a way because it kind of let me have this perspective. But at the same point, I didn't feel like I missed a great deal. Like I knew what happened over there. I knew what roughly what happened, and there was a lot of smaller details that KingsGlaive fleshes out. But I had that segregation of perspectives where from Noctis's side of really only sort of hearing about it, and you're sort of a bit like, oh, what's really happened? I know that this is the outcome, but Jesus, what's really going on over there? So I kind of enjoyed not having the full picture for once. Whereas Brotherhood, I resonated much more with because the game, the Brotherhood is about the four characters, how they're connected and their friendship, and that's what the game lives and dies on mostly in Final Fantasy 15. So to have that backstory, I felt was more important than KingsGlaive because you get it from Noctis' view, and that you find out about all your companions. You find out a little bit more about Noctis, and that to me felt more relatable to the story.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know if people agree or disagree with that, but that's
it's an interesting topic. I'd like to hear other people's opinions on it.
Chuck it in the fucking comments, you lazy bastards.
Chuck it in the comments. Get talking, boys.
Chuck it in the Discord or some people they slag people off behind their backs. They're like, oh, Adkins is talking shit again. I'm like, don't slag him off. Okay. So that's it with that. Well, that's it. I think that'll do for the episode. Easter break coming up, as I mentioned, but there will be a audio episode for those subscribe to the podcast feed, YouTube people and Twitch. I mean, Twitch is a bit of you're lucky to be listening to this and seeing it as it's happening, to be honest. You're very, very lucky. So just count your lucky stars that you get anything.
In pocket.
Yeah, put hand in pocket and sub on that. You can sub twitch.tv/Dimp Digital, Amazon Prime, you can sub. Don't sub to these big boys. They've got enough money. We need more beer. I'm running out of Heineken.
Exactly. Still chugging away at this fucking gone off.
Fuck. I mean, if we were going to do it, I don't think Adkins would be well enough to do an episode next week because he's going to have
No,
the
we
shits
fucking-
all week from that beer that he's just drank. That's out of date. But
Ugh.
we'll be back with a new piece of content in the next couple of weeks. But if you're listening to the audio feed, look forward to a classic Dimp Digital piece of content, episode splicing. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but you're going to get some old stuff from back in the
Bring it
day.
back. Stranded Deep review.
Well, I've got
That's a new
Stranded Deep
impression.
sitting here on this Epic Game thing.
Oh,
I may
big
well
game,
stream
another
it
one.
one day. That might be the
Another
stream.
definitive edition. I bet that's a complete different game.
It probably
Sharks
is.
in it. Well, he had a shark in it before, but that's why it
Big
got pulled.
time. But yes, if you've tuned in this week, if you've watched us this week, if you're listening this week, thanks for joining us. But that's it for now. Game over. Thanks for your time. And ta-da.